Hey, this is Dale Tinsley. You're listening to the Connect podcast. Our purpose is to guide you to connect with yourself so that you can connect with others and live a life of meaning and value. Continuing the series, Connecting with Ourselves. Welcome back to Connect. Hope you guys are awesome, pushing forward on your hero's journey. Today's episode is about self-reflection. Powerful, powerful. So what do you think about when you hear the term self-reflection? You think about looking in the mirror, seeing your own reflection. You think about maybe you've heard someone say, you know, I reflected and I come up with this, and then they have a different opinion or they've had a shift. Something's changed. So today's discussion, we're going to talk about some layers to self-reflection, some nuances, put it on the table, get those wheels in our heads and our hearts turning. Self-reflection, we all do it. But do we truly realize its importance? And are we maximizing it? Are we really going deep into our time alone and reflecting on a deep level? So let's get into some thought about it. What's the primary source or tool in our self-reflection? That would be our awareness. Our awareness and our consciousness as we're approaching it. And for some of us, we may not be that engaged with the self-reflection, right? It's definitely something we all do, but maybe we're not conscious of it. It's just random moments where we're daydreaming or somebody says something to us and it triggers some thoughts, right? And we kind of tune out of the moment, and now we're reflecting on something that happened or doing some math in our head based on some new information that we got in the moment. We're thinking about what they gave us and how it correlates to ourselves, and random thoughts that'll hit you in that moment, right? Connecting the dots. So let's start off with timing. The timing in your self-reflection. So if you can become aware of it and consciously make the time to do it. Aside from in those random moments when you're around other people and you're zoned out, reflecting, thinking, now you're not engaged in that moment. Now you're not present in that moment with family or friends or even at work or an event. So the timing is important. Little notebook that you're journaling in. Make some notes on those thoughts that need to be addressed, and then refocus and reground yourself into the present moment and engage with the people around you. Be present for them. Be present for yourself. So we're going to block out the time to self-reflect. What are some benefits of that? It gives us an opportunity to process our day or to process a moment. And it's so critical because what will happen is if you're not self-reflecting and you're not processing and you're constantly on the go and you don't have any time to just sit and just be, you're constantly outside of yourself for something to be entertained by or to be involved in. And the self-reflection time is key so that we don't build up internally to the point that we feel overwhelmed, might get triggered and say some things you don't really mean, or do some things that you wouldn't have done if you had made the time to self-reflect and truly process what's going on the inside. The chatter, the thoughts, the internal battle between the ego and our authenticity, the judgment. Oh, it's a tough reality. But the self-reflection is that important. Let's go down self-reflection and look at the differences when you're triggered and when you're at peace. So you're in a moment and something happens and now the mind starts going. It's a negative moment. Okay, we'll go that route. It's a negative moment. You're triggered by something negative, and like on a dime, everything changes. Negative thoughts start coming in. You start connecting the dots of this happened last time, or if it was someone that did something to you or offended you or disrespected you or hurt you or crossed a boundary. You start pulling in all of those things because the ego's offended. Thoughts gone. Now it's just emotion. Boom, boom, boom. And all of these negative things come together and you start connecting the dots, and you can feel that intensity and that rage as you feed it with more and more negative thoughts. Whew, that self-reflection can lead to total destruction, or at least a temporary self-sabotaging total destruction for the day, the morning, depending on the severity of it. So self-reflecting in that moment, you can see how your own ego and being triggered in that moment, you can see how that internal self-reflection goes in that direction, towards the unhealthy, towards the negative, towards the toxic. And in that moment, having the awareness and the emotional intelligence to call time out. The second we feel ourselves get triggered, we call time out. Take a deep breath. And let it out. Give yourself that moment. Use that emotional intelligence to let that feeling pass through you. And you may need to do it twice or 3 times. May need to walk off and have a moment to yourself. And along the hero's journey, our hero's journey, who's to tell you you can't? This is your adventure. You strategize what you need, when you need it, And we're working together to find our own processes and refine them. Make them efficient, strategize. Constantly strategizing, constantly refining. So let's go to the other side. When you're not triggered and you're in that self-reflection, you're driving, you're at peace. Now, as you reflect on the day or the couple days, let's just say you came out of a work conference or a vacation or the end of a hero's journey that you just finished up, the reflection, the self-reflection is totally different. Different energy, different vibe, you're at peace. Maybe you just came from skydiving. Just jumped out of a perfectly good airplane. Highly recommend that if you haven't done it. Change your life. Give you some deep internal reflection, because if both of those parachutes failed, that could have been the end of the journey in this existence of these bodies that we got dropped into, our spirits. So the contrast in how we're triggered and that self-reflection and that chaos versus making the time, choosing and blocking out the time to self-reflect, they're night and day. They're night and day. And all of this discussion is to give us perspective. We sit with ourselves, we think, we adapt, we strategize, and we've got to be self-accountable. And we use the one tool that should have a big star and is super foundational, and that's our awareness. Our awareness to bring our attention and focus on whatever it is that we need to focus on. In the self-reflection, we use our awareness and we use the tools that we have, that we've been cultivating through the process, through all of the episodes up until this point with Connect. We focus, we're self-accountable, we see our ego, we use love, we have compassion. The self-reflection, the more and more we do it, our empathy grows, because we can gain different perspectives. The perspective of someone else, of what they're going through. Because nobody knows what you as an individual are really going through unless you share and you communicate that out to the world. And in order to really do that, you've got to be self-accountable. So in that self-reflection, using awareness as a foundational block, and tapping into our authenticity with the self-accountability, we pause and we truly think, and we go through the video in our head, right? The seminar, the vacation, the jumping out of an airplane, the layers, you know, it's interesting, the layers that will jump out at us. Certain moments that you'll remember, and you process those moments. And ask yourself, why are those moments jumping out at me? Something in those moments got your attention. Something in those moments you connected with. And that's awesome. Now, it could be a negative sometimes, very possible. But whichever the moment is, it popped out at you, and it's something that needs to be processed internally. It's something that you need to reflect on. You process it, you gain the nuggets of wisdom from it, you try and use different perspectives on that one moment. You find the quality in it. You find the value in that moment. And then you let it go. So, the processing is similar to meditation, but internally, right? Because in the meditation, we're open and we're connecting to an outside source. We're connecting with God. In the self-reflection, it's more internal, of running through what we need to deal with and process to be able to stay connected to the present. Processing those things, self-reflecting, so that we don't have all of these things coming into our heads that we know we need to deal with. Procrastination. Procrastination, you don't self-reflect, you're procrastinating, oh, I don't want to deal with that now. You find something outside to grab your attention or to do instead of self-reflecting. That procrastination will come back and bite you. It's part of life. We can see it in others. We have to have the courage, the honesty to see it within ourselves and address it. Maximize our time and our self-reflection. It's a process. It's a process. You might do it in your car, turn the radio off, and just let your day unfold. But you definitely need to be alone. You need to be relaxed and focused on just allowing yourself, honoring yourself, and going through the internal process of the self-reflection. It's key. It brings peace. It brings accountability, compassion, empathy, humility. And all of these things are internal. They're inside of us. There's no outside source that's going to get in that moment between yourself, your authenticity, and your ego, right? So your mind and you see the authenticity, you see the ego, because we are the awareness. Nobody's going to jump in that moment. Nobody's there to judge you on what you're thinking and what you're processing and how you're processing it. But the tools that we have in that moment to maximize it and to truly slay those dragons and to collect that gold that benefits ourselves, our authenticity, and everyone outside of us. Honesty, courage, wisdom, fortitude, vulnerability. With who? With yourself. And nothing happens overnight. This process of deep self-reflection builds just like everything else. But you got to cultivate it. We have to make the time for it because it's critical for our own mental well-being, for our spiritual well-being. And if your mind and your spirit are tormented, are you going to go to the gym and lift? If your mind and your spirit are tormented, are you going to go play soccer with your friends and truly enjoy it? Or is the weightlifting and the soccer and the tennis gonna be a temporary Band-Aid to go and relieve some anger that we haven't processed? Instead of releasing anger and aggression and frustration, shouldn't those things be enjoyable? If we tap into those physical releases, and it's a release of anger, stress, depression, hate, anger, all of those things, are we truly in the moment? Are we connected with what we're doing? No. Self-reflection is that powerful. Like I said, it's going to take time to build some momentum with the self-reflection, to really get into the thought. Do I self-reflect? How do I self-reflect? When do I self-reflect? How should I self-reflect? So today's discussion is designed to grab those marbles and throw them up in the air. Now all of that is floating around, and it's on us as individuals to pick through, to make the time, to see the value in it, to use our own process of when, where, how. But the foundational blocks to the self-reflection are simple. It's in the self-accountability. It's in the awareness. It's in the right state of mind. It's in blocking out the time to make it happen. Because nobody can do the internal work for us. And that's why we have big shoulders. I think I'm going to leave it there for today. The value of self-reflection, it's huge. It's getting to know ourselves and processing what we have going on internally so that it doesn't push out to the world in an unhealthy, negative, toxic manifestation. Hope today's episode got those wheels turning in your head, got that heart pulsing, and stimulated you to think and choose to connect with yourself on a more profound level. Choose to live in your authenticity. Choose to be the best version of yourself. And I hope it helps you cultivate yourself into the best version of yourself in your hero's journey. If you enjoyed the video, you can support the Connect family by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, subscribing to the platforms, Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify. Help us expand out, help us grow as a family, elevate our levels of consciousness, and do our part. You can also go to theconnection.studio, check out the journal, the deeper dive. Thank you for your time. God bless. Thanks for joining us at the Connection Studio. You can support us by sharing with others and posting to social media. Keep doing the internal work, as it will truly make all the difference. God bless.